जी सही है सर, हो गया सर स्टार्ट।
Okay. Okay. Our today lecture is related to the absence management. I'm just showing you the basic documentation from the client side, and we basically want to understand that how the absence management setup is going to be, what kind of things we required basically to set up the absence management. Basically, as based on this document on the first sheet, you can understand that annual leave type is there, description is there, the questionnaire related from the client, from the consultant side, and the update from the, you can say, from the user side. Means we want to ask some questions from the business user. So for example, I'm going through with roughly to this sheet, you can get a better idea that there are annual leave type and there are different categories. Means 25 days of annual leave is allowed to CO greater than 3 months. It means that the person of 3 months is will be the probation period, okay, and 25 days will be allowed to CO only.
Okay.
20 days of annual leave is allowed to SLT, will is one of the, you can say, term they use for their employees. Another type is that 18 days of annual leave is allowed to BDM. That is also one of the employee type, basically in the employee HR core. And based on that, there are different categories. Means 18 days are allowed to these employees, 20 days is allowed to these employees who fall under these employees. 14 days is going to be applied for all employees. Greater than 3 months is again is a probation period. Between 7 to 14 annual leave is allowed to all workers, local plus MyY is basically Malaysia employees greater than 3 months. Again, these are the foreign employees. In the below section, basically annual leave, again the working, sorry. Let me come to it. So these are the basically different leave types. Okay. For example, if we will see annual leave and annual leave, we have children leave, working day and work weekend days are basically in most of the organizations. Basically what happened, they want to use the, you can say, the leaves based on the working days. So most of the organizations, what they do plan the working days is basically excluded the weekends in a month. For example, 31st is the whole month days, okay, but we want to exclude the weekends. Means if organization have holidays, weekends days, like Sunday is off, so there will be 6 working days. Okay, so 6 working days in a week and 4 weeks. 6 into 4, it will be 24 working days. Correct? And some employees, sometimes they have weekends, like Saturday and Sunday is off. So there will be 5 working days. So 5 into 4, 20 working days. So 20 working days is going to be the duration in a month. So for example, in a month, one of 31 weekends will be excluded. Okay. And as I mentioned, 5 working days or 6 working days, sometimes 6.5 working days is also there, because sometimes Saturday is a half day. So it will be count as a half day. So it will be 6.5 working days. So that based on this, or 5.5 working days. Sorry, 5 working days, 5.5 working days, or 6 working days. Rest will be the weekends.
Weekends, yes.
So based on that, in category 1, for example, we have 5 working days. And based on 5 working days, if any employee is going to be apply any leave based on an annual leave, for example, from 1st April till you can say 15th April. Okay, and let us open a calendar so you can get a better idea. For example, if I want to come on my April now, okay? So 1st April is a Thursday. So 1st April till 15th April, the leave, annual leave is going to be applied. So if the person is means based on 5 working days and 2 Saturday and Sunday is weekend. So what will he will apply start date and end date from 1st April till 15th April. But system will show count 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 annual leaves will be deducted from the system from his accrual balance, which we will go in for setup and you will get an idea. So you can get an idea to be understand that from 1st to 15th he entered the start date 1st April 2021 and end date will be 15th April 2021. Based on the working schedule, the holiday weekends will be excluded. If this is the scenario, then definitely 3, 4, 10, and 11. These 4 days will automatically be excluded from the duration when he entered the date. He will enter the date, but based on our logic, which we defined in the system, we said that weekend will be excluded. Based on that, it will 4 working weekend days will be excluded, and total 11 days will be counted as a annual leaves. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And again, if suppose Sunday is only off, then only 2 days will be excluded and 13 annual leave will be deducted. You get my point? He will go on leave on 4th and 11th must, because he applied from 1 to 15. So based on the scenario, based on the business policy, we have to map the system like that. I hope you get the idea on this whole thing. For example, 5 working days, 5.5 working days, or 6 working days in a week. In a month, it will be days like 24 days, 22 days, something like that, the working days, and the weekend will be excluded.
Okay.
Yes, once the complete scenario will come, you will clearly understand the whole picture.
Sir,
sick leave, yeah, please.
Sir, in some organizations, if employee apply 15 days, for example, 15 days leave, and there are 2 Saturdays and 2 Sundays between these leave, and in that case they become sandwich leaves.
Okay.
And
what
those
will happen with the
those 4 days also deducted from his leave balance.
Okay, means total 15 days is going to be calculated.
Calculated, yes.
Okay, that's why I said the different organizations have different scenarios, because now what happened, they are not excluding the weekend days. They are including the weekend days when any employee is going to be apply for annual leave specifically.
Yes.
Okay, so they based on different scenario. I just discussed with you that, for example, the working days is 6, and some employer want to exclude the weekends. Based on that, what will be the scenario? Now you said that few in your organization and in another organization, they are adding the weekends in case he is applying for annual leave. Okay, so based on that, it will based on scenario, and what will be the scenario, the system need to be mapped like that.
Okay, sir.
We will go through with those scenarios one by one, and you will definitely get an idea.
Okay, sir.
After that, let me go through with the sick leave. Sick leave have 14 days. Sick leave is allowed to all employees. Okay, that is straightforward. Means anybody is going to apply for sick leave, he can apply maximum 14 days. If anybody is applying more than 14 days, then system is going to stop it, and maybe other leave he can apply for other leave. Okay, so same like child care leave. Every means different legislation have different leaves, so you have to keep in mind. I am talking about globally. Okay,
Okay, sir.
we can discuss all the leaves related to Pakistan legislation, whatever the leaves are there, but mostly these are the almost same leaves which applied globally as well. Compassionate leave, you maybe heard about this leave. This leave is maximum 3 days leave can be availed by all confirmed employees. What is the confirmed employees? That after the completion of the probation period, the person can apply for the compassionate leave. Okay. Paternity leave is related to paternity leave is basically related to the parents leave. Okay, which can be applied by the parents maximum 14 days. Okay, again another leave is maternity leave, right? So maternity leave have different scenarios. So first one we can be availed by the Singapore citizens, rest can be availed by non-Singapore citizens. So here you can say if we are applying for maternity leave, we have to check that the person must be married, number one thing. The person must be a female, this is second condition. And the person must be a permanent employee. So these kind of terminologies means conditions. Based on different conditions, we have to check the condition, and based on that, system will allow that person to apply that leave. For example, this is 16 weeks, which is 112 days. Some in maybe in Pakistan there is 3 months leave. In UAE there is also almost 3 months leave, right? So these are the basic conditions which we want to check. Okay. Another is marriage leave. Another is marriage leave. It can be availed maximum 3 days leave. So whatever the leave types will be, it is based on the company's internal policies.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the leave types. We can discuss whatever the leave types maybe you have already working in your organization. We can go for that leaves. Okay. So what these based on these leave types, okay. The next step will be that we have to create the elements. Now, elements is basically a part of a payroll also, because element is basically the thing in which we basically store the information of different to add the values basically, because element you can say is going to be a part of the payroll, and it is going to link attached with the employees, and based on that, whatever the allowances, the amount, the absence is going to be processed in a payroll. Because payroll, once we run the payroll understand the language of elements, because elements store the values of different means you can say elements names. As you see in a first column, and now I want to create these elements, okay? And based on every element, I have different classifications based currency, non-recurring, recurring. These are the types which we will use live in the system. Then you will get more better understanding what I'm trying to telling you right now. So termination is also a type which we used in while creating an element. Last standard process means that the whenever any employee is going to be end dated,
Okay.
then these elements will be also end dated, okay, but it will end date till last date. Means, for example, in a simple word, in I think previous session we discussed that when we are running a payroll, we have some cutoff dates.
Yes.
Okay, so based on some cutoff date, for example, I'm running the payroll on 20th, and after payroll run, any employee left the organization. So I want to end date that employee. So once I end date, system will end date from 1st April till 30th April. So the last day of the month will be the last tender process.
Okay.
Time. Okay. So priority is basically we set different priorities for different elements. From 1 to priority can be 2000, 5000 priority numbers will be there. So once we enter that priority means if 500 is the priority of these elements, and there is another element which have priority of 600. So when the payroll will run, payroll will check which priority is the smaller priority number from smaller from, for example, 100 to 500. 500 is maximum, means greater priority, and 100 is the lesser priority. But based on that, 100 will process first, then 200, then 300. So whatever the priorities we set for the elements, based on that it will process first in a payroll. So that is also a part of an element. Another checkbox is processed in a payroll. It is yes. We set it yes in the element screen. We will go there, but I'm just trying to show you the concept first, and then once I will go on in the screens, you will get much better understanding. So indirect results, multiple entries. This indirect, before that, let me tell you this as well. Formula name means every element. It all depends on the scenario. In the payroll, basic salary, transportation allowance, housing allowance, car allowance, for example, mobile allowance, any other calculation allowance, reallocation allowance, different allowances, whatever allowances processed in a monthly basis, every these kind of payroll elements must create a formula which must be created by the consultants based on the policies, whatever the policies employer have. So basic salary is not like that. It is a basic salary. You just write down, create the basic salary element, and it will simply process all the basic salary for everyone. So there is some terms which I will definitely show you. Recalculation event is basically related to the retro process. Once that time will come, I will describe you. Proration group is basically proration is one of the process of a payroll. For example, as we discussed in our previous session, that for example, then when we run the payroll from 20th okay, of April, for example, and all the employees are already hired from previous month, or I'm talking about that current month. So all employees are already hired. Now we are running the payroll for the month of April. So once we run the payroll, na, it will check all the employees who are already been in the system. For example, any employee who is hired on 10th of April, okay, on 10th of April, we create the employee in the system. So what will happen? Once the payroll will run, based on the formula and the logic which we already defined in the system will check this person is hiring date is 10th April. So we have to pay him from 10th April till 30th April. And for how many days? Only for 20 days.
20 days, yes.
You get my point?
Yes,
Because
sir.
from 1st to 10th, we are not going to pay him. His joining date is 10th. So based on that, that logic need to be write down in the system. I hope you get the understanding related to the proration.
Yes, sir. It's a pro rata basis.
Okay.
Pro rata basis.
Yeah, pro rata or proration, both are the same terminology which mostly used in different organizations. Once we create, for example, all these elements which we will create, okay, then we have to define every element and an input value, which will be, for example, an annual leave is basically the days which we want to capture, okay, which we want to capture from the user, because all leaves are related to days. Now we are entering days, or sometimes it's hours also. Some in some organizations also calculated hours as well. So these are element name, and these are the input values. These are the input values. Means days is one input value, hours, feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, feature 4 is basically we created for our own safe and whenever maybe there will be any change in a future for any element, we have the room that we can add those input values which we created as a feature 1 to feature 4. This is just for our own safety purpose, because in input values we have the unit of measurement. So in unit of measurement we have different types: days, hours, date, money. These are the different measurements which used in an input value. Sequence is same like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because these are the 7 input values for this element. That's why it's showing 7. User enterable means user can enter the value by himself. So we have to mention that yes, days is going to be entered by the user. Database item is basically all are yes, because every element which we create in the payroll, in the system, basically we want to create the, we want need the database item as well, because database item required values in the formula basically. Okay, so once those all things will come, you will get a better understanding when things, pictures will come in front of you, but I'm just giving you an overview. So on that time, you get automatically understanding that, okay, we discussed this thing on that time. Same, this is the same thing when we discuss the things related to the HR core. You remember in a very few sessions, first 2-3 sessions, I think you were not able to understand what is going on. But once you go into the practical picture, you understand all the things.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry, but just listen carefully. So you will be get a very clear picture when we will go in the system to do all these things practically. So element link is basically another third part, because whenever element is going to create, we want to link those, we want to create a link of those elements. and those elements need to be linked based on different scenario. Options are there. Majorly, we link it with the payroll because, for example, in one organization, you have two payrolls. You have different payrolls. Means you want to run the payroll for the management, okay, and once you want to run the payroll for the workers. So you have two payrolls. And you can see here the payroll name, for example, here is DSG staff payroll. And we have another payroll, DSG worker payroll. So we want to link this element only for the staff payroll, for example. So we want to link it with the payroll name. We can link it with the organization. We can link with the job category as well. So me, for example, we want to attach only a bonus. For example, we create a bonus element and we want to attach that bonus element for only specific jobs, for example. So what we will do, we will create element, we will link it, and automatically once we set a standard link, this standard link into Y, those element means, for example, bonus element link, want to link with the directors and the managers only. Okay, so what will happen once we create element and we attach and set that category option with the job, and we link with the standard link with yes, make it yes, then what will happen is bonus will automatically going to attach with those employees. For example, though there are 500 employees, director plus managers. So you are not going to attach that element one by one to 500 employees. You get my point? You just set here automatically. Once the standard link will be yes, that 500 employees who have category of job category related to manager and directors, automatically bonus element will attach to those employees. You get my point? So automatically things will be linked. So these are again the same element classification which you shown before, seen before. Non-recurring, basically non-processing flag we have basically in once we are creating an element, we have two types, non-recurring and recurring. So recurring elements are those elements who have flag recurring, means they are going to process monthly. Monthly they are going to process. Okay, if now non-recurring are those elements which is going to process only for that specific month. Whenever that, because see, annual leave is not going to apply. For example, Ashtiaq Abbasi want to apply annual leave. Definitely he will go apply for 5 annual leave in April. It's not necessary he will apply the annual leave in May. You get my point? Then, so we don't want to process these kind of elements every month without any means value, without any means why we are going to be put a load on a payroll process, because once the payroll is going to process, it is going to check each and every employee and each and every element, each and every formula. So it is a very big cycle behind it. But that based on that, we can put a low load on the payroll side. So these are the non-recurring element, and based on that, it will be processed whenever any employee is going to apply, then it is going to attach with the employee. Na? Why we want to attach these employees always with the employee? Okay, so once basically in this session, you will get a little bit knowledge about payroll as well, because this is related to the payroll as well.
Okay, sir.
It is not completely payroll, but it is partially linked with the payroll, because element, input values, element link, these 3 topics are related to payroll. Okay, now let's come to the absence type screen. So these are the absence types again, which we created as an element. So annual leave 25, carry forward is basically the thing means that, for example, in 2021, from
Yes.
1st January till 31st uh, December 2021, the person has entitled to 25 annual leaves.
Yes, sir.
So he applied, he applied, for example, 15 annual leaves. Rest of the 10 annual leaves we
Transfer to the
want
next
to
year.
carry forward next year.
Yes.
Transfer. So that terminology is basically going to use
Carry
as a
forward.
carry forward.
Yes.
So that is going to be note down in the formula. So we, based on that, once we run the process, whatever the carry remaining balance is there, it will move to the next year.
Next year. Yes.
So the next is accrual plan. Accrual plan is basically that based on the accrual plans, annual leaves, we can create as much as many accrual plans in the system basically. And for in annual leave, we must need accrual plan because we have to know the carry forward. We want to check all the differences of the leaves, annual leaves, which employee added. Somebody applied for 5 annual leaves. He want to check his remaining balance, accrual balance. So we can go into the system and we can check how many accrual leaves now he has in the system. Even in the system, he can see by himself through self-service. So that screen is basically the setup of the accrual plan. Then basically there is accrual carryover formula is there. So once that portion will come, I will explain you about this formula as well, because it need to be linked with the accrual plan. The another is also annually PTO payroll plan formula. Basically, once we create it, it need to be mentioned based on the system, and we have to write down some logic over here, and based on that we say in the system that okay, if this person is going to be like that, what will be the annual leave status, what will be the based on different conditions, you can say. So based on different conditions, this everything is going to be applied in this formula. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So another is the table structure basically, because as you see that they mentioned that they have different leave has some, you can say different leaves have some entitlements. So we want to capture those entitlement, and that need to be created in a table structure. There can be a different possibility. We can capture any other places as well, but so far we created in a table structure. That is also a part in HR core, one of the functionality. Once that time will come, you will see automatically. Then the main thing is the BG absence. BG absence, BG absence duration is the basic template, standard template which used in the system, in the formula, and based on this BG absence duration, we have to write down all the conditions. For example, let me show you. So you can see a little bit here. Let me scroll up a little bit here. See, annual leave types, all the live types, IDs we defined here. Then we defined some function from where we are capturing the absence type ID. And again, if you see here, if assignment location is this, okay, I think you get idea of location from where I'm showing you in the assignment screen. We have a location field.
Okay.
So from me, that is the how to capture it. We are capturing. We are saying that if as location corporate services DSD, then maximum holiday is 3. otherwise else 4. So these are different terminologies, functions which need to be created in the formulas basically. Okay, and based on that, I'm saying here, if absence type ID 61 or this or this or this ID, then you have to check the duration, weekends, get weekends minus, we are excluding the weekends and excluding the public holidays as well. So based on that, this is the logic which we are basically writing in this formula. And based on that, once the formula is processed, or when the we are running the payroll system checks all this formula. So here what we are saying, that if this absence type ID, basically annual leave, sick leave, these are the absence type name. Okay, and every item name have some IDs. So we are capturing this information based on ID. Okay, for example, if probation period is greater than equal to date start, okay, duration failed, you are not eligible to apply, you are still on probation. So this is the one validation you can understand now.
Okay.
I will show, once we will do, you will definitely get an idea, because I mentioned that once the sick leave is there, so there are all different uh, uh, leave types have different validations or and different criterias, which we will definitely work, and you will get idea on that time once we will do it practical. I think today's session is fine for today.
Yes, sir. This is
Okay, because we just want to discuss this all the things, and tomorrow, inshallah, we will start our practical work on it, and you will be get a more understanding on that time. Okay.
okay, sir.
Because I also want to not to put more burden on you. You just came from office, so tomorrow the same time we will sit again. Okay,
Sir.
and we will discuss this whole thing on that time.
Okay,
So
sir.
far, yeah, you can
Sir,
get a better understanding on this, and rest you have to just finalize those. You can say the assignments for all the employees as well. Attach them in the, you can say,